Okay, here we are again. The idea of the craving for life, craving for change. So when that comment came up, I was like, well, there. I don't know if that's necessarily true for a great number of people.
Oh, I agree. I agree that they're. Um, I agree that they're asleep to their potential in that moment. But I would say that it's an inherent property of life that it seeks to continue and it seeks to grow and it seeks to express itself.
So then the human organism then gets in the way of the um, life going forward growth movement.
No, I'd say the human organism expresses itself in that way. If you look at kids, that's what they're about. They're about growth and expressing themselves and being fully alive.
Okay, well, I'm thinking about many of the people that I've worked with, and many of the people that I've seen that they want their life to continue,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't want to have. I mean, it doesn't seem like that there is any. It's like life has become a habit, and there isn't a question. There isn't the the idea is like, well, I'm suffering and I want it to stop. Okay, so maybe there's that kind of change, but I don't want to take any risks within that. So to me, that doesn't sound like there's this life-affirming movement towards the potential for the greatest potential of that movement of life.
Yeah, I think in that situation it's gone underground because otherwise people wouldn't come to see as clients if they didn't want some kind of resolution. There must be something urging them towards that. But yeah, I think people's life energy gets blocked a lot. People get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I think underneath that, there is something that's wanting to move, and it simply gets stuck at times. Usually because of our beliefs about it.
Well, that's when I was talking about how the organism, the mind, beliefs, history, whatever, gets in the way of the movement of the expression of life. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the gift and curse of human potentials. We have this capacity to both frustrate and facilitate the life force, if you want to put it in that terms.
So it seems to me that one conclusion we come to is that we value life for certain things that are inherent in life as compared to life well lived as opposed to a life poorly lived. But there's also the different. We can say we value life because of its contrast with death, and that is more what the Buddhists say. Buddhists have this image of a life being like a turtle wandering up to the surface of the depths of the ocean, and just happened to be putting his head through a life preserver that's floating in the middle of the ocean. It's that unlikely to have a life, and for that reason, life is that valuable, and it presents an opportunity for development of awareness and growth, which enables you to get off the wheel of suffering. So that is sort of an example of a way in which life is precious as compared to presumably what you can't do after life, which is grow in that way, at least according to the Buddhists.
Right.
So, is there anything that you think is that you can think of that is something valuable about life, which is unlikely to exist after death? Because that, to me, is what ultimately we're looking for in order to understand why life is so precious. If life is really precious, and our sense of life's preciousness is not just an illusion because we don't know what death is.
Yeah, in this case, I would say that, and I would agree with the Buddhists who say this as well, is that reality is inherently precious. That there's a preciousness to existence, which is axiomatic. Existence, by its very nature, has a preciousness inherent in it. And so we see life as the expression of that nature. And so life, in this context, becomes inherently precious, simply for what it is. not necessarily in contrast to death, because I don't think people think about it in such sophisticated terms, but I think they perceive an inherent preciousness in life itself, and that it's expressing existence in a particular way, in a dynamic way that's growing and moving towards its potential.
I think that there's an implied Buddhist example is an implied warning that there's certain things you cannot do after death that you can do before death. Like one of them seems to me to be a key one would seem to me to be practice. Life is inherently valuable because you can practice and learn how to see through illusion. Whereas presumably what they're saying is you can't do that after death.
Which I think is very interesting. The capacity to actually learn and grow seems to be inherent in their motivation towards practice. So that could be a property of life itself, is learning and growing.
It could, and I think one of the things we're doing is circling around those very concerns: growth, development, experience.
Yeah, which point to life as being precious because of the opportunity it provides.
For those things.
Yeah, you think about all these spiritual systems that see Earth as, say, a soul school, or however they want to put it. It's some context for learning that can't happen in other circumstances.
So the $1 million question is, why? Does this give us any inroad or any tool with which to understand what life after death is like, or might be like? Is it something that you can't grow? Is it an environment in which development is not possible?
Well, one of the things I was thinking about as I was listening to you guys is the capacity for sensing the environment, I think, is integral to life.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's through touch, sight, sound, smell, taste. And I was just, as I was thinking about that, I was struck with the question of is there a sense of sensory stimulation or sensory experience in death? So we can say, well, we don't have a body to sense the environment, but perhaps in death there are different senses that then get activated. So in that sense, there's a continuity, but it's shifted in a way that it's like a different way of experiencing the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's possible, or it may not be possible. Sensation may not be possible after death, which would make our capacity to perceive and sense the world around us all the more precious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
actually, it's interesting. Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, I think that's why people take joy in being able to see, right? To see, beautiful flowers and hear music and to have that kind of contact. That I think people perceive there's an inherent opportunity or preciousness in that capacity. They may not articulate it that way or may not pay attention to it, but I think there is a precious opportunity here, and being that has senses.
I think I agree with you, Steve, but I also want to just put out this with respect to Kim's question. According to many of the esoteric commentators or literatures, our senses are much more acute in the afterlife than they are during life. And one reason you can give for that is that the body actually tends to muffle experience and sensation during life, that presumably after death, you wouldn't be able to avoid sensation, especially unpleasant sensation. You wouldn't be able to avoid it Because where can you go to hide it? You don't have a body with which to push the sensation into.
Right.
But you don't have skin and sensors on your skin, so how would you feel it?
Well, that's a good question, but it suggests that sensation, like experience, are not necessarily products of a physical body. Physical body is actually something that just translates those kinds of percepts into a frequency which is suitable for this level of reality. But the underlying phenomenon of sensation, at least according to this view, is something that exists perhaps on all levels, but certainly on the, after death, as in some level, the perception is possible.
Yeah, that could very well be, because many of those esoteric schools also put great emphasis on developing inner dimensions of sensitivity, developing the inner senses. And